The beginning of urban settlement marks a shift in society from a primitive agrarian one to a more complex trade-based economy. In the case of India, the Indus Valley civilization marked the first urbanization period. For reasons that are not entirely known, that period ended in the middle of the second millennium BCE, following which there was a return to primitive rural existence. A second period of urban development came over 1,000 years later, when small tribes started developing into complex and organized political entities. The resulting states came to be known as the Mahajanapadas. Mahajanapadas were ancient Indian kingdoms and republics that existed from the 6th century BCE to the 4th century BCE. These were politically organized entities that played a key role in shaping the socio-political and cultural landscape of ancient India. While most Mahajanapadas were monarchies, two were republics governed by councils or assemblies, making them sort of unique in early Indian history. The word Mahajanapada is derived from two Sanskrit words, Maha meaning great and Janapada meaning country or territory. In total, there are 16 Mahajanapadas mentioned in the Buddhist and Jain texts. We will get to that in a moment. The emergence of the Mahajanapadas coincided with transition from tribal and small state-based societies to more organized political entities. These transformations were facilitated by several factors. Let's have a look. The increase in agricultural productivity due to better irrigation and farming techniques led to a surplus in food, which in turn helped the growth of urban centers. These cities were fortified and served as the administrative and trade centers. Cities like Vaishali, Rajgriha, and Takshila became centers for culture and learning. This created the need for larger political and administrative structures to manage trade, security, and resources. The development of trade routes, both maritime and overland, brought about economic prosperity to these regions. The trade routes connected them to lands as far as Central Asia. The growing importance of trade cities like Kashi also contributed to the rise of these powerful kingdoms and republics. The taxation systems on all that funded their armies and administrative structures. Standing armies were maintained for defense and expansion, and the use of iron weapons by these armies gave them a strategic advantage. The period of the Mahajanapadas was also a time of great socio-cultural change in India, marked by the rise of new religious and philosophical schools of thought, which challenged the traditional Vedic practices. Buddhism and Jainism emerged during this time largely as a response to the rigid caste system and the dominance of the Brahminical religious hierarchy. Gautam Buddha and Mahavira, the founders of Buddhism and Jainism respectively, were born in the kingdoms of Kosala and Magadha, influencing the region's cultures. It was also a time when Sanskrit literature and philosophical debates flourished. The Buddhist text Anguttara Nikaya and the Jain text Bhagavati Sutra list the 16 Mahajanapadas. Let's have a look. There is Anga, Magadha, Vajji, Kosala, Kashi, Malla, Vatsa, Kuru, Panchala, Matsya, Surasena, Chedi, Avanti, Gandhara, Kamboja, and Ashoka. While most of the Mahajanapadas were monarchical states, two were republics governed by councils. The distinction between monarchies and republics played a crucial role in the political history of ancient India. Let's have a look at some of their features. The authority of the king was generally hereditary, passed on from father to son, and in some cases kings cemented their authority further, by claiming a divine right to rule. Monarchies maintained standing armies, collected taxes, which was usually a portion of the agricultural produce, and fortified their capitals. The Vajji and Malla republics were unique for their governance. These were oligarchic states where power was vested in assemblies or councils, made up of nobles or elected representatives from various clans or tribes. Decisions were made collectively in assemblies, where issues were debated and voted upon. These republics often had a more egalitarian society, with leaders being chosen on their competence rather than birthright. Magadha was the most prominent Mahajanapada. It had its original capital at Rajgriha, which was later moved to Pataliputra. Magadha was known for its political dominance and military strength, and the Mauryan Empire itself can be considered a successor state to the Magadhan kingdom. Neighboring to the kingdom of Magadha was the kingdom of Kosala with its capital at Shravasti. Kosala was known for its cultural richness and association with the town of Ayodhya, but it was most well known for its association with the Shakya clan, of which the Buddha was a member. I have already made a video on the home of the Shakyas. If you want to check that out, I will link it in the description box below. The Vajji Confederacy, with its capital at Vaishali, was one of the most prominent republics of ancient India. It was led by the clan of Licchavis and was one of the early examples of a democratic system in India, though it was a highly decentralized form of democracy, with power residing in assemblies or councils. Gandhara was another important Mahajanapada, though this really requires a video of its own. Do comment and let me know if you are interested to watch that. By the 4th century BCE, while some Mahajanapadas like Magadha became strong, other smaller states began to decline due to external invasions, internal strife, or monarchical consolidation. Magadha, under the leadership of kings like Ajatashatru and Bimbisar, expanded its influence and eventually incorporated many of the neighboring kingdoms into its own empire, a change that eventually marked the rise of the Mauryan dynasty under Chandragupta Maurya. The Mahajanapadas represent a transformative phase in Indian history that saw the development of organized states, diverse governance models, economic prosperity, and cultural enhancements. These were the first organized political entities in ancient India and would pave the way for more advanced political systems, which would give rise to large empires like the Mauryan Empire. The blend of monarchical and republican systems in these regions highlights a fascinating chapter of Indian history, one where democratic ideas were explored alongside traditional monarchies. The legacy of the Mahajanapadas continues to resonate in modern India, both as a reminder of ancient political experimentation and as the backdrop for the rise of Buddhism and Jainism, which remain influential to this day. Thanks for watching. I hope you found the video valuable. For more history related content, stay tuned to this channel and I will see you next time.